The greatest mistake people make is believing confidence is something the world gives you. They spend years chasing achievements, approval, wealth, status, and recognition, hoping that one day they'll finally feel enough. But the truth is far more uncomfortable. Confidence is never handed to anyone. It is built quietly, one decision at a time, in moments when nobody is watching. It grows every time you choose discipline over comfort, courage over fear, and self-respect over temporary approval. The world simply reflects the confidence you have already created within yourself. Think about the people who command attention without saying much. They don't constantly seek validation. They don't desperately try to impress everyone they meet. They don't enter every conversation trying to prove how intelligent or successful they are. Yet their presence alone changes the atmosphere of the room. Why? Because people instinctively recognize inner certainty. Real confidence doesn't shout. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't need applause. It simply exists. Robert Greene often points toward one powerful psychological truth: people naturally follow those who trust themselves. Not because those individuals are perfect, but because certainty is rare in a world filled with doubt. Most people hesitate before every decision. They ask themselves what others might think. They wait for permission before pursuing their dreams. They postpone their ambitions until someone else believes in them. By doing so, they unknowingly surrender control of their lives to strangers whose opinions should never determine their future. Imagine living every single day asking yourself, will people approve of this? Before speaking, you calculate every possible reaction. Before starting a business, you imagine criticism. Before expressing your opinion, you fear rejection. Slowly, your personality begins to disappear beneath layers of hesitation. You no longer make decisions because they align with your values. You make them because they feel socially acceptable. That is not confidence. That is quiet dependence disguised as responsibility. Dangerous confidence begins the moment you reverse that process. Instead of asking, will people accept me? You begin asking, will I respect myself if I don't do this? That single question changes everything. Self-respect lasts far longer than public approval. Applause fades. Trends change. People's opinions shift overnight. But the relationship you have with yourself follows you everywhere. Every promise you keep to yourself strengthens that relationship. Every promise you break weakens it. Most people don't realize that confidence is actually evidence. Your brain doesn't become confident because you repeat positive affirmations. It becomes confident because you repeatedly prove that you can trust yourself. Every difficult workout completed despite exhaustion tells your mind, I keep my promises. Every uncomfortable conversation you refuse to avoid tells your mind, I am stronger than temporary fear. Every disciplined action becomes proof of your character. Over time, these small pieces of evidence form an identity that no criticism can easily destroy. This is why confidence can never be purchased. Money may improve your lifestyle, but it cannot replace self-respect. Fame may attract attention, but it cannot silence self-doubt. Success may impress other people, but it cannot heal a mind that constantly seeks validation. If your confidence depends entirely on external achievements, then every setback becomes a threat to your identity. Lose the achievement, and you lose yourself. But when confidence comes from character, circumstances lose their power over you. There is another reason so many people remain trapped in insecurity. They compare their private struggles to other people's public victories. Social media has made this habit almost automatic. You see someone's promotion, someone else's luxury lifestyle, another person's perfect relationship, and immediately your mind begins asking, why not me? But what you rarely see are the sacrifices, failures, loneliness, discipline, and years of invisible effort behind those moments. Comparison quietly steals gratitude and replaces it with dissatisfaction. The more you compare, the less you appreciate your own progress. Dangerously confident people reject this psychological trap. They understand that life is not a competition against strangers. The only meaningful comparison is between who you were yesterday and who you are becoming today. Did you become a little wiser, a little stronger, a little more disciplined? If the answer is yes, then you are already moving in the right direction. Real confidence is built through consistent improvement, not public recognition. The truth is that fear will never completely disappear. Every successful entrepreneur has felt uncertainty. Every respected leader has experienced doubt. Every great athlete has questioned their ability. The difference is not the absence of fear, the difference is action despite fear. Confidence is not something that appears before you act. Confidence is the reward your brain gives you after you've acted despite uncertainty. Action creates evidence. Evidence creates belief. Belief creates confidence. That order never changes. When you finally understand this principle, your entire perspective shifts. You stop waiting for the perfect moment because you realize perfection never arrives. You stop asking for permission because you understand no one else is responsible for your future. You stop measuring your worth through likes, compliments, or applause because your standards become internal instead of external. And once your standards come from within, you become incredibly difficult to manipulate. This is the beginning of dangerous confidence. Not arrogance, not ego, not believing you're better than everyone else. Dangerous confidence is quiet certainty. It is the calm belief that regardless of success or failure, praise or criticism, acceptance or rejection, you will remain true to your principles. That kind of confidence cannot be borrowed. It cannot be faked. It must be earned through discipline, honesty, and repeated acts of courage. The world doesn't need another person pretending to be confident. It needs someone who has built confidence so deeply that it becomes part of their identity. Because when your identity becomes stronger than your circumstances, fear begins to lose its authority. And that is the moment your life starts to change forever. Every meaningful transformation begins with a painful realization. The life you have today is not simply the result of your circumstances, it is the result of your habits. Most people underestimate the incredible power of small daily actions. They believe success comes from one massive breakthrough, one lucky opportunity, or one extraordinary moment. But life rarely changes that way. Instead, it changes quietly through decisions so small that most people ignore them. The decision to wake up when the alarm rings instead of pressing snooze. The decision to read 10 pages instead of scrolling endlessly. The decision to train your body when excuses sound convincing. These moments seem insignificant, yet together they create the person you eventually become. Robert Greene repeatedly shows that mastery is never an accident. Every master was once a beginner who refused to abandon the process. Every extraordinary achievement was built through ordinary discipline repeated for years. While others searched for shortcuts, masters became obsessed with consistency. They understood that greatness is not created by intensity. It is created by repetition. Unfortunately, modern society encourages the opposite mindset. People want instant success, instant wealth, instant confidence, instant transformation. They admire the destination while avoiding the journey. That is why so many dreams disappear before they are ever realized. The beginning is always uncomfortable. Discipline feels unnatural. Patience feels frustrating. Progress feels invisible. Your mind constantly whispers that nothing is changing. But something is changing. Every disciplined action strengthens your identity. Every excuse strengthens your weakness. Whether you realize it or not, you are always becoming someone. The question is, who are you becoming? Imagine two people beginning the exact same journey. The first waits until they feel motivated. The second acts regardless of how they feel. 1 month later, the difference is small. 6 months later, the difference becomes noticeable. 5 years later, their lives no longer resemble each other. The gap wasn't created by talent, it wasn't created by intelligence. It was created by consistency. This is why discipline is more valuable than motivation. Motivation depends on emotion. Discipline depends on commitment. Emotions change every day. Commitment remains. Dangerously confident people never allow temporary emotions to control permanent goals. They understand that feelings are temporary visitors. Purpose is permanent. Another reason habits matter is because your subconscious is always watching. Every promise you keep sends a powerful message. I can trust myself. Every promise you break sends another message. My words don't matter. Over time, those messages become your identity. This explains why so many people struggle with confidence. It isn't because they're incapable, it's because they've repeatedly taught themselves that they cannot rely on their own decisions. Confidence grows when self-trust grows, and self-trust grows through action, not intention. There is another dangerous illusion that traps millions of people. They believe tomorrow will be different. Tomorrow they'll start exercising. Tomorrow they'll study. Tomorrow they'll launch the business. Tomorrow they'll repair the relationship. Tomorrow they'll finally become disciplined. But tomorrow is one of the greatest lies fear ever created, because every tomorrow eventually becomes another yesterday. Life quietly passes while people prepare for a future that never begins. Dangerously confident people reject this illusion. They understand that the only day capable of changing your future is today. Not because today is perfect, but because today is real. Action has always belonged to the present moment. Nothing changes inside imagination. Everything changes inside action. Look back at your greatest achievements. None of them happened because you waited. They happened because one day you finally decided to move. That first step was probably uncomfortable. You probably doubted yourself. You probably wondered if it would work, but you moved anyway. And that single decision created momentum. Momentum is one of the most powerful psychological forces in human behavior. Once you begin keeping promises to yourself, your confidence begins growing naturally. You no longer need to convince yourself that you're capable. Your actions become the proof. Eventually, other people begin noticing something different. You appear calmer, more focused, less reactive, more disciplined, not because your life became easier, but because your habits became stronger than your excuses. That is the hidden secret behind every confident person you've ever admired. They didn't wait to become confident before changing their lives. They changed their daily actions until confidence became inevitable. And once your habits begin shaping your identity, the next challenge appears. Learning how to protect your energy from the people, environments, and distractions that constantly try to pull you away from the person you're becoming. One of the biggest reasons people never reach their potential has nothing to do with intelligence, talent, or opportunity. It has everything to do with the people they allow into their lives. Your environment silently shapes your identity. Every conversation you have, every person you spend time with, every piece of content you consume, every habit you tolerate, is either building your future or destroying it. Most people never notice this because change happens slowly. No one wakes up one morning and suddenly loses their ambition. Instead, it disappears one compromise at a time, one negative friendship, one toxic relationship, one unnecessary distraction, one excuse repeated every day, until the person who once dreamed of greatness no longer recognizes themselves. Robert Greene often explains that human beings naturally absorb the attitudes and behaviors of those around them. Whether you realize it or not, your mind is constantly adapting to your environment. If you surround yourself with people who complain, you'll begin seeing problems everywhere. If you spend your days with people who settle for mediocrity, your own standards will slowly begin to fall. If everyone around you fears change, eventually you'll start fearing it too. This is why protecting your environment is not selfish, it is survival. Many people say they want success, but they continue spending time with people who laugh at ambition. They want peace, yet they constantly entertain unnecessary drama. They want confidence, yet they keep listening to voices that remind them of every weakness. Nothing changes because nothing around them changes. Dangerously confident people understand that energy is limited. Every day you wake up with only a certain amount of mental and emotional energy. Where you invest it determines who you become. Imagine carrying a bucket filled with clean water. Every negative conversation pokes a small hole. Every unnecessary argument creates another. Every toxic relationship opens another. At first, the water barely drops, but after enough holes, the bucket becomes empty. That is exactly what emotional exhaustion feels like. Not one major event, but hundreds of small drains happening every single day. The strongest people recognize these drains early. They don't wait until they feel completely broken. They make difficult decisions before damage becomes permanent. Sometimes that means leaving unhealthy friendships. Sometimes it means ending relationships that constantly demand your peace. Sometimes it means saying no to opportunities that look attractive but don't align with your values. Every healthy boundary sends a powerful message to your subconscious. My peace matters. And every time you honor that message, your confidence grows stronger. There is another truth most people refuse to accept. Not everyone deserves unlimited access to your life. Some people only appear when they need something. Some celebrate your failures more than your victories. Some become uncomfortable every time you begin improving yourself. They don't necessarily hate you. They simply preferred the version of you that never challenged their own comfort. Growth has a strange effect. It reveals people's true intentions. The moment you become more disciplined, some friends disappear. The moment you become more successful, some people become distant. The moment you stop accepting disrespect, certain relationships suddenly fall apart. Don't be surprised, not everyone is meant to accompany you to every chapter of your life. Sometimes people leave because your growth reminds them of the growth they avoided, and that's okay. Your responsibility isn't to carry everyone. Your responsibility is to protect the future you're trying to build. Another hidden distraction is constant noise. Today's world makes silence feel uncomfortable. Every spare moment is filled with notifications, videos, messages, opinions, entertainment. Very few people spend even 10 minutes completely alone with their own thoughts. Yet solitude is where clarity is born. It is during silence that you begin hearing your own voice instead of everyone else's. Dangerously confident people intentionally create moments of isolation. Not because they dislike people, but because they value self-awareness. In silence, you begin recognizing which dreams are truly yours, which fears belong to you, and which beliefs were simply borrowed from society. That awareness is priceless. Because once you understand your own mind, the world becomes far less capable of controlling it. Remember this: you cannot build an extraordinary life while protecting ordinary excuses. Eventually there comes a moment when you must choose comfort or growth, approval or authenticity, distraction or discipline, average or extraordinary. Every confident person you've ever admired made that choice long before anyone noticed their success. They quietly protected their environment. They carefully guarded their energy. They became ruthless about where they invested their attention because they understood one simple principle: your future is not created by what you occasionally do. It is created by what you repeatedly allow into your life. And once you begin protecting your mind as carefully as you protect your dreams, you stop becoming a victim of your circumstances. You become the architect of your destiny. That is the mindset that separates ordinary people from those who become truly unforgettable. There is a final truth that separates ordinary confidence from the kind of confidence that changes your entire life. It is the understanding that no one is coming to save you. This realization sounds harsh, but it is one of the most liberating truths you will ever accept. Many people spend years waiting for the perfect opportunity, waiting for the right mentor, waiting for more money, waiting for someone to believe in them, waiting for motivation, waiting for confidence. Without realizing it, life continues moving while they remain standing still. Dangerously confident people understand something different. They stop waiting for rescue. They become their own rescue. The day you accept complete responsibility for your life is the day you become impossible to stop. Because excuses lose their power, blame disappears, complaining becomes meaningless. Every ounce of energy that was once wasted criticizing circumstances is redirected toward creating solutions. That is how powerful responsibility truly is. Most people misunderstand responsibility. They think it means blaming yourself for everything that goes wrong. It doesn't. Responsibility means accepting that your future is still your choice, regardless of your past. You cannot always control what happens to you, but you can always control who you become because of it. Some people use pain as proof that life is unfair. Others use the same pain as fuel to become extraordinary. The event is identical. the identity they choose afterward is completely different. Robert Greene often reminds us that every great individual throughout history encountered rejection, betrayal, failure, and setbacks. What separated them was not luck. It was their refusal to let adversity define their identity. They understood that suffering is often the price of transformation. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" they asked, "What is this trying to teach me?" That single shift transforms every obstacle into education. Failure stops becoming an ending. It becomes information. Criticism stops becoming an insult. It becomes feedback. Rejection stops becoming proof that you are unworthy. It becomes redirection towards something better. This mindset is what gives mentally strong people an incredible advantage. While others become emotionally trapped inside disappointment, they become students of experience. Every mistake makes them wiser. Every setback makes them stronger. Every difficult season prepares them for a greater opportunity. Think about a blacksmith forging a sword. The steel is heated until it glows. Then it is struck repeatedly with a hammer, again and again and again. To someone who doesn't understand the process, it looks like destruction. But the blacksmith knows something different. The steel is not being destroyed, it is being strengthened. Life often works the same way. The pressure you experience today may be shaping the strength you will depend on tomorrow. This is why mentally powerful people stop asking for easier lives. Instead, they build stronger minds, because an easy life creates comfort. A difficult life approached with the right mindset creates character. Character lasts far longer than comfort. Eventually you reach a point where external circumstances no longer control your inner world. People praise you, you remain humble. People criticize you, you remain focused. Success arrives, you stay disciplined. Failure appears, you continue moving forward. That emotional stability is rare, and because it is rare, it becomes powerful. Imagine waking up each morning knowing that your confidence is no longer connected to money, to relationships, to popularity, or to other people's opinions. Imagine knowing that even if everything around you changed tomorrow, you would still possess the discipline, courage, wisdom, and self-respect needed to rebuild your life from the beginning. That is true freedom. Because nothing valuable has been taken from you. Everything valuable lives inside you. At that point, fear begins losing its voice. Comparison loses its meaning. Validation loses its importance. Excuses lose their influence. You stop living for appearances. You begin living according to principles. And something remarkable happens. People begin asking what changed. They notice your calmness, your patience, your discipline, your quiet confidence. They assume you discovered some secret, but the secret was never hidden. You simply stop searching for strength outside yourself. You realize that confidence is not something you find. It is something you build. One disciplined choice, one honest decision, one uncomfortable action, one kept promise at a time. That is the path to becoming dangerously confident, not through arrogance, not through pretending, not through proving yourself to the world, but through becoming the kind of person who no longer needs the world's permission to believe in yourself. Because in the end, the strongest people are not those who never experience fear. They are the ones who keep moving despite it. Not those who never fail, but those who refuse to let failure become their identity. Not those who receive endless approval, but those who continue following their purpose even when they walk alone. So ask yourself one final question when this video ends. Will you continue living according to fear, or will today become the day you finally take control of your own life? The choice has always been yours, and it always will be. As this journey comes to an end, remember one thing above everything else. Confidence has never been something you discover. It is something you build. Day after day, choice after choice, moment after moment. The world will always try to convince you that you need more before you are enough. More money, more success, more recognition, more approval. But the truth is far simpler. The strongest people are not those who have everything. They are the ones who refuse to surrender themselves, even when life gives them nothing. Every fear you've faced, every failure you've survived, every disappointment you've overcome has been preparing you for the person you're capable of becoming. Nothing was wasted. Every difficult season taught you resilience. Every rejection taught you independence. Every setback taught you patience. And every challenge gave you an opportunity to become stronger than the version of yourself that existed before. From this moment forward, stop asking whether you're ready. Stop waiting for confidence to appear. Stop seeking permission from people who are too afraid to chase their own dreams. Your life begins changing the moment you decide that your future is no longer controlled by fear, doubt, or the opinions of others. Protect your peace, master your emotions, keep your promises to yourself. Walk away from what no longer respects your value. Choose discipline over comfort. Choose purpose over popularity. Choose growth over excuses. Because every small decision you make today is shaping the person you'll become tomorrow. One day, people will look at your confidence and believe you were born with it. They'll never see the silent battles you fought, the mornings you didn't want to continue, the nights you questioned yourself, the sacrifices no one applauded, the moments you chose discipline when nobody was watching. That is where real confidence is born, not in comfort, but in struggle, not in applause, but in consistency. Not in pretending, but in becoming. So as you leave this video, remember this final truth. You don't need to be fearless to become unstoppable. You only need the courage to take the next step, even while fear is still walking beside you, because the moment you stop asking the world who you should be and start becoming the person you know you were meant to become, that is the moment your confidence becomes unshakable. And once your confidence becomes unshakable, no obstacle, no criticism, no failure, and no opinion can stop the life you're capable of creating. The choice has always been yours. Now it's time to prove it. If this message inspired you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another journey toward mastering your mind, your character, and your future. Remember, the most dangerous person in the room is never the loudest. It's the one who has mastered themselves. Thank you for watching.